Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy StumpD back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, we're talking Pirate Rumble. We're doing some team building over here on Pirate Rumble. I know it's been a little while since I've done like a tier list video or like a showcase video of particular teams in Rumble, but with Global moving into the color meta and sort of having a nice rotation of what teams beat what, I thought we'd do a discussion on each color and each sort of quote-unquote best or optimal team, as well as some substitute options for you guys when you are team building in Pirate Rumble. So, big shout out to the OPTC database, big shout out to Solaris for putting together actually a tier list maker. It actually is absolutely incredible. So I have put together sort of the most optimal team that I believe for each color, and then I've given you guys some sub options. So with that said, let's take a look. Alright, so shout out to the OPTC database once again and Solaris for putting this together. Look, it's not perfect, but it is very, very well done, and honestly, gotta give credit where credit is due, right? So big shout out to you guys over on the database. We're gonna start off at strength. Now, the top here, this is the team that I've sort of put together in terms of the optimal team, in terms of what you want to be looking for, in terms of how, like, you are team building. And then down here, we have a bunch of sort of substitute options. So, with the strength team, it is centric around Kid. Yuitz's Kid is an absolute weapon when it comes to strength. His ability at max applies level 7 attack up to strength, and his special deals 1.5 times attack to all enemies in a forward range, applies level 3 defense up, but he ignores defense, which is massive. So if the enemy has like 50 defense, doesn't matter, Kid's just basically going to board wipe for you. This Sanji's really, really good because he can actually give not only an attack buff, but special cooldown. The idea with this Sanji is you kind of want him to die. Like, you want to put him in one of these middle slots here, just because, like, you want him to die because you want this ace to come in. But you kind of want Whitebeard in this middle slot, as ideally he actually just gets really, really tanky the more damage he takes. Ideally, the way you want it is you want your big hitters and your low HP characters to be on the left and the right, so on the wings. Your tanky character in the middle, and then your other two characters in the center there, sort of like your center defenders. So Sanji's basically here to give some cooldowns, just so Kid can just boost his special a little bit quicker. You've got Whitebeard here. Whitebeard's great because once he drops below 30%, as you guys will see here, once we drop his HP below 30%, he goes up. Like, he goes up massively. He gets a nice chunky attack boost. He gets a lot more defense as well, so he can start tanking those shots. And then ideally, he's just going to take the brunt of it, so Kid doesn't, and then Kid can come in and just start, like, doing an absolute belting. Law's great because he can give HP at the start of the fight. For the first 40 seconds, he not only gives HP, but he also gives defense up, and then he also does a level 5 attack buff as well. I think it's like level 5 HP and then it's level, for the first 40 seconds he gives attack up, but look, just going to go off what's written here. He deals 2 times attack twos, which is great. Whitebeard is a HP cutter as well, so if you get his HP cut off, 48% HP cut is absolutely massive. It allows Kid to literally just nuke the stage and just wipe, which is great. And then Toki, the newest Kazuna legend over on Global. Toki's great because she gives a level 5 attack up, 5 speed, 3 defense, level 5 debuff down to Dex, and it all works really, really nicely. She also removes a bunch of debuffs, Action Bind, Silence. She gets 15% special cooldown to your crew, level 10 attack up to one crew member with the highest attack, which is normally Kid, which works really, really good. And then she restores 2 times HP in a medial range, which is really, really good. So the idea of this particular team, once you pop all of your specials off, you will be looking like something like this. So Kid can get up to around 37 attack, which is massive. Remember, he does go through defensive effects, which is even better. Ideally, Sanji may or may not be dead. You kind of just want him to pop that special off, get that level 4 attack buff, and then just die. Or have enough special charge so when Ace comes in, Ace can do that like big old like hit that he does. He does give defense up as well, Ace, which is great. And if you are sort of struggling with the defense up, you can kind of slide him in over Whitebeard. Like, that'll work absolutely fine as well. Or you could just like take out Sanji and put him in there. Add another nuker to the bench. That should work absolutely fine as well. So the strength team is really, really good. It's mainly like it's mainly designed to take down Dex. That's the sort of moral of it. As it does really, really well against Dex, as you saw with Toki. Not only that, but it can work really, really well against Sai. Only thing it struggles against is obviously Quick. Quick is its natural enemy, and that's sort of what we're talking about in today's video. Each color has a natural enemy, and it sort of follows that cycle. Int and Sai sort of counter each other, and then Strength counters Dex, Dex counters Quick, Quick counters Strength. So Strength's great if you're versing Sai teams and stuff like that. Obviously, with Yamato running around, it can be a little bit scary, that Sai team, but Nevertheless, the strength team does work wonders against Dex, and it just absolutely destroys. You do have Kaku on the bench. Kaku's a great bench unit. He's strength as well, which is great. And then you've got Smoker as well. Smoker's one of the best PvP units in the game, if not the best PvP rare recruit, in my opinion. So having him as a bench unit just to, like, lower accuracy is just super nice. And obviously, PvP being mainly RNG-based, smoking it can actually help out a lot there. When you are looking at defending, you do have some pretty good options in Jack. You have some pretty good options in Diamond Jozu as well. They are very, very good units. You have a Kainu here, which can work as a great bench unit if you are missing something like Ace versus Kainu. He can come in the last sort of like 40 seconds and do a massive attack buff to himself. And he does a lot of damage as well, which is really good, but he's sort of like wasn't overly viable as a global first, but at the same time, like, he is kind of good. Other options you guys have is you can build some slasher-based teams. Laura's a slasher, Toki's a slasher, Odin's a slasher, Sweet Generals is a slasher, Kaku's a slasher. So you can do some funky stuff there if you are missing some of these units and slide these guys in. Odin does a lot of damage, as you guys know. He's a great bench unit as well. Just come in and just sort of like do an absolute monstrous death hit, provided you can time that. You can do shenanigans with the Stampede Usopp as well. He wasn't actually in the database, so I didn't include him. But you can do some shenanigans with the Usopp from Stampede. Max out his ability for special charge, put him in the center, let him die, and let Odin come in and just destroy. Or you can put Kid in the bench as well and do that as well. So there's those options there for you as well. Using something like Sanji to get cooldowns as well, and then just have that board wipe available. But again, that's very RNG reliant. If we are talking JP, we do have two new units which aren't out on global. We do have Arlong and we do have Kuma. As interesting as these units are for PvP, they really don't find their way on this main team here. And look, it sort of just is what it is, unfortunately, when it comes to these particular units. But as time goes on, as the battle sort of fights, as you can see, we are starting the fight with around 17 attacks, 6 defense, 5 speed, 3 cooldown, and 5 HP, which is really nice. It's a nice good array of stats. As time obviously goes on and you get towards that 40 seconds and you do lose Law's buffs, you will be dropping down. So if we kind of get down to this 40-second mark here, you will notice that we lose a lot of our defensive buffs. But you got to remember, by that particular time, we would have had like all of our specials pop off at that point. Like all of our specials, if you do get down to this particular point, not this particular point, around here, let's go like that. As you can see, like, you do have some other specials popping off. So you still have that sort of 6 defense, provided the enemy is not, like, obviously nuking you in terms of dropping your defense and stuff like that. This is just looking at a passive rate. So the strength team's a lot of fun. I actually really enjoy using it as an attacking team. I don't have Toki per se. So for me, I actually put Ace sort of like in this particular slot there. And then I just use something like Whitebeard as an, sorry, not Whitebeard, like Sober Mask. Nope, not Sober Mask either. I use like the Rebecca Toy Soldier as a bench unit. You can also do some stuff if you don't have a bunch of legends. You can even use stuff like Kaido on this team, and some of those just really, really powerful PvP units that are just so self-sufficient. So that's the strength team. Let me know what you think about the strength team. If you have any changes to it as well, let me know in the comment section, as I am interested to hear. Alright, so moving on to Quick now. Now, Quick has an array of different options, but the most optimal team that I do find when I am running the Quick team looks a little bit like this. Kaido, the big dog. Honestly, best PvP unit in the game. Like, for me, this is a PvP legend. I know he's not on PvP banners, but, like, that is the, like, this is where he shines the most. And people that, like, rave about V2 Kaido, like, the only praise that I really give him, besides, like, when he works, is PvP. Because he's a weapon. Absolute weapon. He's so self-sufficient. In the first 40 seconds, he gives level 10 speed to himself and level 10 attack, which is just absolutely massive. He does 5 HP, 3 defense to Quick as well. He inflicts level 3 defense down in a large range. He does like 2 times his attack, and then he has a 50% chance to do paralysis. He just hits so damn hard, like so stupidly hard. He's on a 26 cooldown, so if we like fast forward to like 26, with this team it's a little bit quicker, but like let's just like hypothetically say that it is 26. He's looking at around sort of 26 attack. If you haven't popped off some of these other characters' specials at a flat rate, he does so much goddamn damage. Shiryu, the Pirate Art Festival rare recruit Shiryu, he's great for when you're versing strength teams. And obviously, Quick just shines the most against strength, but it does very, very well against stuff like INT and Psy as well. The place it struggles against Dex, because Dex just has so many counters for it, and it normally either gets timed out if they are running a good Dex team, but ideally, if you see Dex, just don't use Quick. Same with strength. If you see Quick, don't use strength. If you see strength, don't use Quick. Sorry, Dex. Wow, words are hard. But, like, you guys get what I'm saying when it comes to this sort of stuff, right? Shiryu, he applies level 6 attack up and HP to quick. For the first 30 seconds, he applies level 3 special cooldown to quick as well, which means this guy here is going to be popping off very quickly. He deals 2 times his attack in a large medial range. For the first 30 seconds, he does 2,000 damage. Attack to strength as well. So he does like 2 times his attack, and then if they're strength enemies, he does another 2,000 fixed damage. Very, very good. As you'll notice, this team is very driven, powerhouse-centric, and that is something else that you can play off if you want to include stuff like the Fire Tank Pirates and whatnot as well. We have Magellan, powerhouse shooter, quick unit, level 5 attack, level 5 HP to quick. First 30 seconds, he gives level 2 speed to himself. Cooldown, sorry, not speed. Cooldown buff to himself. On a 27-second cooldown, he inflicts level 3 defense down to all enemies in a medium range. 1.7 times his attack in a medium range as well. 100% chance to give himself haste. 50% haste to reduce haste to one other quick ally. And for the first 40 seconds, he inflicts level 3 debuff to all enemies for 20 seconds. Wild. So you drop the defense, you do a bunch of attack, he gives himself haste, so he literally goes next. Haste means that you attack next, and if he gives haste to something like Kaido, and then Kaido pops his special off, after you've then lowered the defense again by level 3, Kaido then drops the defense by level 3, you have like level 9 defense dropping, and then like Kaido's just hitting like an absolute freight train. It works so damn nicely. You have Akainu here. Akainu is the king of killing strength teams. He's an absolute weapon. 5 attack, 3 defense to quick. First 20 seconds, he does level 5 speed cooldown. To himself, and for the first 20 seconds, he applies level 5 attack up to himself as well. He's special, absolutely monstrous when you are versing strength, as I mentioned. 2 times attack into all enemies in a large radial range, 1.5 extra attack to strength, and for the first 40 seconds, he does a 30% HP cut to all enemies. So if you're versing strength, you do like 30% HP cut, 2 times attack, 1.5 times damage, and you just basically destroy anything that's in your way that has the strength coloring. Finally, we've got Luffy on the team. The final tap Luffy, pretty much all he's used for nowadays. He's just dropped off the goddamn planet when it comes to external content besides PvP. He's a weapon in PvP because he applies level 5 HP and to himself and to quick. So he has a lot of HP, as you can see here. This team has like 26, 21 HP. Very, very tanky team. But he has unknown condition basically buffs himself when when your allies are defeated. He gives himself level 5 attack up every time an ally is defeated, and for the last 70 seconds he gives level 7 speed up buff to quick. So after 30 seconds has passed, like after 30 seconds has passed, you are going so quick with your quick units. Like, you just have, like, that 7 speed up is just so hunky-dory. You don't have any, like, you have 10 speed to start with Kaido, but you don't have any speed elsewhere. So when this happens, it works really nicely. But the idea of this team is based around haste. Luffy also gives level 7 attack up to himself for 5 seconds, does 2 times his damage to all enemies in a large radial range, and for 70% chance to reduce haste on 2 quick allies. So 2 allies get 70% chance to haste. Again, they go first. So, like, if you get Magellan to go, he hastes himself, and then hastes Luffy. Luffy drops, he hastes something like Akainu and Kaido. You just come in and you just do so much damage in the first sort of 30 seconds of the fight. A lot of teams just can't keep up with this. Whitebeard, one of the best bench units. He's great because he's a quick unit as well. For the first 50 seconds, he does HP up to himself, a level 5 attack up in the last 50 seconds, and special cooldown to himself in the last 50 seconds, as well as giving a level 5 speed up to himself in the last 50 seconds. So his ideal position is the first on the bench. Once you get to the last 50 seconds, he comes in and he's very, very strong, which is awesome. But he gives a HP buff for the first 50 seconds too. So if you do use him on the main team over something like Shiryu here, he is viable there if you are missing that Shiryu unit. The last 2 units just made up of any nukus that you want. Sobermask, Law, very good nukus. You can use something like Smoker. He's a great option as well. But the idea of this team is once you basically just pop all your specials off, not to mention how much damage output you get. Like, the whole idea is damage output, so the stats don't really sort of radiate that. But ideally, with all these specials live, and then your battle counter going down and stuff like this, obviously with your passives, you start getting speed up and stuff like that. Look at Kaido, he's at 17 speed as the fight goes on. And then obviously, the later the fight gets, the more this team starts to struggle. So, idea is just to get these guys popping off early. Once they're popped off early, you just do so much damage that you are hunky-dory good to go. You do have some substitute options. A lot of free-to-play, really good free-to-play options here. You have Inkov, you have Queen, you have Lucy, you have King. King's a great nuker as well. You have the Pirate Festival units in Leo and Stussy, who are quite good as well if you want to slide them in. Stussy works great in this sort of middle slot. Have her popping off, let her die. She works great for defensive teams, to be honest. Kuzen, he's another really, really good option. He gives a speed buff to strength, dex, and quicks units, so you can just sort of slide him in on the team here. The whole team here is sort of powerhouse-driven centric besides Luffy, but look, Kuzen definitely works. I'm not a big fan of using Kuzen myself, but look, he is definitely an option if you are missing something like Magellan and stuff like that as well, and just focusing on speed. The final unit is King. Now, King is actually not too bad. He's a level 7 attack up, level 3 speed up. He's not the be-all or end-all, like, for the quick team, but he's definitely another option for you guys if you guys want to try him out. I don't really know where you'd fit him there. Like, I would probably use him over, like, something like Kuzan, but Kuzan's silence to one enemy with the highest attack can actually just, like, clutch so much for you guys. But that's the quick team, arguably one of the best teams in Pirate Rumble at the moment. But as I mentioned, it's sort of designed to take down strength, and that's its big focus. But you can go up against some side teams. You just got to be very, very careful of stuff like Wano Law. Wano Law absolutely decimates this team. Or you do need to be mindful of int teams that are very high defense. So Quick is mainly made for attack. Not a lot of people use it as a defensive team because it can be countered very, very well through stuff like Quick, through stuff like Wano Law, and through the tankiness that int team has. But nevertheless, it is still a very, very good team. Let's move on to Dex now. Alright, so moving on to Dex. Now, this team is basically used to counter Quick. Like, that's really all it's used for, or defending. So I've sort of taken that into consideration as, like, you can use it as an attacking team, but, like, the whole idea of this team is built around getting Zoro and Sobermas to come in and just do, like, an absolute crazy, like, wave clear at the end there. That's sort of, like, the best thing that they can do. Like, they're not really designed for anything. Like, the team's not designed for anything else but defending. Kid is a great option. He does a lot of damage, but he does defense up and HP up, as you guys can see there. He does level 3 defense up with his special, 2 times his attack in a large sideways range. Cavendish is another really good option. He gives crit hit debuff to all enemies. So, they can't critical hit you, basically, so that way you take less damage. He applies level 4 defense up as well, and guard, as you can see, very, very good for, like, using defending teams and tanking and stalling out. We then have Rayleigh. Rayleigh applies level 5 HP buff to the crew, and when your HP is below 60%, he does level 5 defense and guard. So ideally, you want Rayleigh in this middle slot, because as I mentioned in the strength team, this is the slot that gets hit the most, and that's where you want to slide him in. Another good option for this team is this Bardo. He's not in the database, the Dex Bardo, the PvP one, but, like, I just included this Bardo here. You could easily put him here over Hiyori, but Hiyori's another really good option for free-to-play characters as well. She gives a lot of HP, she gives a lot of guard. She does 1.5 damage in a medium range and 18,000 fixed healing, so you can just sort of stall out. Plus, she applies level 2 defense up. Rayleigh's another good option as well for when his special pops off, because he gives more defense and he does fixed damage, which this team is sort of centric around. And finally, you've got the big dog, the Funk King, Mr. Queen, or Mr. Queen, I guess. Level 7 HP up to defense to Dex, which is huge. As you can see, we have massive HP on this team, 10 guard, 9 defense, which is great, and then applies level 3 defense as well. You deal 5,000 fixed damage to one enemy and a 50% chance to action bind all enemies in a large medium range. It's not, like, reliant there, but it's very nice. But you also get level 7 speed down debuff in the large range, which can really slow down the enemy. And again, this team is designed to stall out the fight and works great as a defensive team. Your final 2 units are nukers. Zoro, the best nuker in the game. In the last 30 seconds, he just does so much stuff. He gives himself a level 5 attack up, gives Dex 5, so he gives 10 attack to himself, level 3 speed buff to Dex, and a level 3 speed cooldown to himself for a special charge. He deals 1 times his attack in the large forward range. In the last 50 seconds, he does another 2 times attack, and then in the last 30 seconds, he does another 2 times attack. So he basically goes 1 times his attack, 2 times his attack, 2 times his attack, and absolutely, like, he mops the floor. Like, he does so much goddamn damage that, like, I've lost fights to just Zoro being Zoro and coming in the last, like, 5 seconds and just board wiping. Same with Sobermask, he does sort of the same thing. In the last, it's in, like, the last 30 seconds, I think it is. He does, extra damage, just, like, 1.3, and then he does, like, another... Oh, this is the wrong Sobermask. Hang on, hold up. Hang on. Alright, so Sobermask isn't in the database either, so I'll just put this one here for now. He basically does something similar to Zoro and just does, like, a bunch of, like, extra damage the later it is in the fight. Zoro is a better option to be in the first slot at the bench because you just want him to come in and just pop that special off. Like, even if he gets it around the 50 seconds, you're going to do a lot of damage. Some alternatives, though. As you can see here, like, sorry, before we talk about the alternatives, as you can see, we're sitting in a nice chunky guard, defense, and HP pool. And if you just sort of pop all your specials off, like, over time, like, you can end up getting some crazy defensive numbers. As time goes on as well, and, like, as Rayleigh's HP drops as well, say Rayleigh's HP drops down there, and as time goes on, like, as you can see, like, you've got, like, so much, like, defense, you've got so much guard, like low attack, but like once this guy comes in, like if you get say for example Hiyori dies and then you get Zoro to come in, if we unset that and we just go Zoro, we get Zoro to come in. Like Zoro's got that level 10 attack and he's like popping off in the last sort of like, say he pops off in the last 8 seconds. Even with that 10 attack up, like he's just doing some serious numbers. Like some serious numbers. If we pop all those specials back on. Yeah, like that. Like he's at 15 attack and he's hitting 3 times. Like he does so much damage and he just works so nicely. You do have Miguel in here if you guys want to do some like defense down shenanigans. Hawkins is another good option if you're looking for some defensive, if you're missing something like Rayleigh or Kid or something like that. The Blackbeard, Legend Blackbeard, not this Blackbeard, but Legend Blackbeard. He's great if you want to nuke the quick team even more. He's just not in the database. And then you do have Law as an option. Law can work, as Law's great at just sort of giving HP and giving that counter mechanic. So like when you take damage, you just throw it back, but like he's not all that great. Finally, you've got Corazon. Corazon is an absolute weapon when you are versing quick. As you can see, he gives level 5 speed cooldown and special cooldown. If you partner him up with something like Wano Law, even though Wano Law's not boosted on this team, like you can just do some crazy things against quick and easily not only stall them out, but actually just defeat them really well. Once Kizaru and Morio comes out, beating quick becomes an absolute cakewalk with these units. They are just purely designed to nerf quick. Check out the channel. I do have a showcase for the units if you guys want to check them out. But basically, they drop level 5 speed down for quick, and then Moria does a whole bunch of stuff like defense down, level 8 defense down for quick, which is just absolutely massive. But as I mentioned, this particular team is not really used for attacking. It's mainly used for defending. So there's kind of that. So I wouldn't use this sort of like attacking unless you just really want to cock a quick team. If you are at like the high end top 100 and you see a quick team in the sort of like for a lot of points, you can easily use something like this to sort of just like counter them down. Use something like Wano Law, use something like Corazon, and you will be good to go. Let's move on to the big dogs now. The 2 better colors in Pirate Rumble, if I do say so myself. Alright, so moving on to INT now. Now, INT's a bit of an interesting one because INT has a nice balance of defending and attacking. Ideally, it's more made for defending, very similar to the Dex team that we just spoke about, but it has a lot more attacking prowess than something like the Dex team does. But, nevertheless, most of the time it is used as a defending team. Now, there is a little bit of asterisk on this particular team, as Yamato 6+ is only in the database, but Yamato 6-star is actually not. Now, if you have, like, Yamato 6-star, obviously you want to slide Yamato 6-star on the attacking version of the team, and I would just take out Whitebeard here. You would just basically put Yamato right here. The 6-star variant, as she's very good for the INT team. Like a very good unit. I'll talk about her special with this particular Yamato, like she is on the team. But if you don't have, like if you only have one and you can't be bothered chopping and changing between the two, I totally understand because I'm in the exact same boat. Like, I don't really use her on Rumble, like especially when defending because like I don't have 2. But if you have 2 and you got very lucky, you can easily put together an INT team for defending and an attacking team for Psy, which honestly is the sort of best 2 at the moment. If you don't have 2, I would probably recommend leaving Yamato as a 6-star and then using the INT defending team, especially if you have stuff like Moria, because the combination of Yamato and Moria is really nice. If you guys don't know what Moria does, he does HP and defense up. As you guys can see here, like look at the buffs that this team has. Like, bruh. So, you apply level HP and level 5 HP to INT, level 3 defense up, and for the first 30 seconds, you apply level speed cooldown to himself. Now, that's really good, because Moria's special is cracked. Deals 1700 fixed damage and 100% chance to halve the stats of 3 enemies for 20 seconds, and that is huge. That applies to defense, that applies to attack, that applies to speed. Everything that's not HP, that will apply to, and it can just make fights so frustrating. So ridiculously frustrating. If you did pull Marco, be very happy. This is another PvP legend in my eyes. He's really only used in PvP, especially over my Japan account. He gets level 5 speed up, level 5 blow away, buff to INT characters so you can knock them back, and for the which like changes the order of them attacking. And for the first 30 seconds, he applies level 3 speed cooldown to INT characters as well for special cooldown, which is awesome. He deals 2 times his attack in radial range. When HP is below 50%, he restores 2.5 recovery HP to crew members in a medium range, so he's a healer when he's dropped below 50%, and he inflicts level 5 defense debound buff to all enemies in a large medial range, which is great, especially when you have other characters coming in to do a lot of damage, like Yamato. Now, Yamato is what I would slide in on the team over Whitebeard, especially when you are attacking, because Yamato has a 100% chance to halve stats to all enemies in a medium range, deals 5 times her attack to 2 enemies, which basically means you are killing 2 enemies, and applies level 10 attack up buff to crew members in a large medial range for 10 seconds. Obviously, she doesn't apply the attack up buff to Sai, but she applies it to Int. Same with the second one, when the enemy does... Like, when Yamato hits, she gives level 2 attack up to Int characters. Obviously, that's her Sai, but it's Int characters with her 6-star, which is really, really good. If you don't have her, you can use Whitebeard. Now, Whitebeard's a really good tanking option. He gives attack up to Int as well, which is why I've got him on here, as well as HP. And when you are below 50%, he applies level 7 defense to himself, which is really, really nice. The idea of this team is you want to have Jozu in the middle, not Whitebeard, even though, like, you want Whitebeard to take shots, because you want Jozu to die. But when you get below the last 50 seconds, Whitebeard not only does a 10% HP cut, he applies level 3 defense up to Int characters and attack up, level 5 attack up, but he also does an extra 1 times he's damaged to all enemies in a medium to radial range, which is a lot of damage, honestly. But in saying that, you kind of want Yamato there instead, and this is a character that I would be looking at more using on a defensive team rather than an offensive team, but I just wanted to put them there because, like, there was no really other option. The other option you could use over this is using something like Law. Law's a really, really good shout as well, as Law can give a lot of speed, and he can do silence, and then that way you can sort of just nerf enemies and stuff like that. Jozu's here because he gives level 5 speed up, and for the first 40 seconds, he gives level 5 defense and guard to Int. The idea of him is you want him to die. He does 2200 fixed damage to enemies in a small forward range, and he gives level 3 crit up and defense up to Int allies. Ideally, you just want him to die so then this guy here can come in. Now, there is a little trick with Enel. If you put him on the bench first stop, you can actually get his passive when there is a crew count of 6 or less. I understand we have 7, but once Jozu dies, it becomes 6 when Enel comes in. Enel's special is really nice because he can deal 1.8 times his attack to enemies in a large radial range, level 5 defense up and level 5 guard up, so he's great to help the team nuke and defend as well, which is really, really nice. His passive is massive though if you have 6 or less. Level 5 HP, level 3 defense, level 5 speed to Int allies, which is absolutely awesome. And finally, you have Smoker. Again, Smoker's like the best PvP rare recruit in my eyes. You can slide him in on any team. He gives level 7 attack up, level 10 accuracy, level 7 attack up to Imp, and then gives level 10 accuracy down to the rest of the opposition team. He does 2 times his attack in a large range, and he's 100% chance to special bind. The special bind's like a little cherry on top, and if it works, it can just cuck teams. When you are looking at attacking as well, you can sort of add the combination of Halloween Law and Halloween Shanks. They do work quite nicely. You can center the team around sort of Driven and Slasher, and that way you can use something like Dofi in here as well, and you can do that option. But when you are defending, you really want to make sure that you're using this particular character here, or this particular character here if you're playing on Japan. Reiju's great because Reiju does like 5 HP, 5 speed, and 3 defense. Then she can heal. She does fixed damage over time. She's very, very good for defending teams. Like, really, really good. And you can bait people like using stuff like her, Enel, Moria, and then Yamato running like 4-man teams and just tanking and actually stalling them out, which is absolutely wild. But you do have some other nuking options with Big Mom on the bench as well if you want to sort of slide her in there as well, if you are struggling for some of these other options. But the in-team, like I said, it has an array of really good options. It's very, very strong, but it's mainly used for defending. Once you sort of pop all your specials off here, now this is not including Yamato, by the way, like, you can do some pretty crazy things. Now, remember, you have a lot of HP cut through this team. You have a lot of nerfing with this team. But the damage output isn't overly reliable. Katakuri is sort of doing fixed damage, which is great. Same with Jozu. I think I glossed over Katakuri, sorry. But Katakuri just debuffs Sai characters as well. So if you are versing Sai, Katakuri is sort of the way to go. Because he can work really nicely. And then you can use something like Konus as well. Konus is a unit that I've totally forgotten about. When you are coming up against Sai teams, you can actually use something like Konus, the combination of the Konus and Katakuri, if you do want to nerf them. But I always find, like, if you are running sort of this sort of team to take Katakuri off and use something like Law for attacking, I am using Katakuri because I don't have Marco and having Law in this particular slot when I am running Ints, where Marco actually is. But nevertheless, like, this particular team does numbers and it does really, really work. Obviously, with Yamato there when you are attacking. I do think I have a showcase of Yamato from when I put it on Japan. If you guys want to check that out, head over to the PvP playlist, and you guys can check that out too. But as time goes on as well, like, you will be nerfing the enemy. You obviously lose some of, like, this blowaway stuff. But as you can see, like, your HP and your defense, it all stays pretty nice, as well as, like, your guard and whatnot, once you've popped those specials off as well. So, the in-team's really, really good. It isn't as sort of god tier as it once was, But there's a lot of different options that you guys can do, and sort of that particular team you see up there, obviously with Yamato in this particular spot here. Even though, like, we don't have that, but this Yamato, like, having 6-star Yamato obviously is the way to go. Let's move on to the Psy team now. This is my favorite team. Let's have a chat about Psy. Alright, talking about Psy, the final team of the video, but in my eyes, the best Pirate Rumble team, or one of the best Pirate Rumble teams going around. If we're talking colors, this is my favorite, especially for attacking, because it has a lot of offensive power. You have Yamato 6+, as you guys saw in the INT team. She does a lot of stuff. Level 5 attack up buff to Psy, and when she hits, she does another level 2 attack up buff to Psy, capping at 5. So she basically is level 15 attack up to Psy, which is awesome. Her special 100% chance to halve stats in a medium range, which can hit everyone, by the way. Like, you can halve everyone's stats. That includes every stat except for HP. Busted. Level 5 times attack to 2 enemies, which basically means they die, and level 10 attack up to crew members as well. You also have the Pirate King. For the first 30 seconds, 60 and 40 seconds, he does level 3 defense up, level 5 attack up, level 6 special charge to your crew members, which means you can pop off your specials very quickly. With Gaban, or he also does like 2,000 fixed damage and a whole bunch of nerfing too, by the way, when you hit that 30 seconds. He inflicts level 7 attack down, defense down, speed down, which makes the other team very, very slow, and you can do a lot of damage. Scopper, the newest Pirate Festival rare recruit. I do believe lots of people skip this unit, but people may have pulled him anyway. He's awesome. Level 8 HP to Psy. Level 5 attack up to Psy as well. He deals 2 times his attack in a medium range, and then level 7 attack down to 2 enemies for 20 seconds. If you pop him and Roger off and you just start dropping their attack, you just don't take any damage. Enel, the first Pirate Festival legend, still the best Pirate Festival legend in my eyes. He does level 5 defense, level 5 speed to Psy, and for the first 40 seconds gives level 5 cooldown, debuff to slashes. So you make slashes go a lot slower, and with the combination of Rebecca Toy Soldier, you can nerf slashes even more, which works really, really nice. Enel on a 17-tone cooldown, which is bonkers, deals 1.1 times his attack to all enemies, level 3 defense up, and level 5 speed up. So then you start popping off real fast. Your character start moving, with Yamato moving fast, getting that attack buff. You can just do some big numbers. With Rebecca Toy Soldier, she nerfs slashes. She has level 5 defense down, but level 3 defense down to everyone in a large range. Her passive, though, level 6 attack up, 2 defense up, 2 HP up to Psy, unconditional, no time limit, works really, really nicely. The final character on this Psy sort of base team is Treasure Map Sanji. Now, Treasure Map Sanji is actually like a legend version of Rare Recruit, like the Pirate Rare Recruit Sober Mask. He does a lot of damage, and ideally you want him on the bench because he has such a high cooldown. He applies level 8 speed buff to Psy, level 1 cooldown to Psy as well. He deals 1200 attack, like fixed damage to enemies in a medium radial range, and then does 1.8 times his attack in a large radial range. And then in the last 30 seconds, he deals 3200 fixed damage to all enemies in a large range. So you get, like, what, 4400 fixed damage on top of his 1.8. Just so much damage in the last, like, final, like, stages of the fight. He comes in for something like Rebecca Toy Soldier or Scopper. The battle timer's down, like, down here somewhere. And, like, you have, say, all of your specials popped off, like, a couple times. And then you have, like, Yamato popping off. Like, you're looking at, like, 28 attack. Like, and he's just doing stupid things. Like, absolutely stupid things. At that point, too, doesn't matter what the defense looks like, because you have fixed damage, which is great. The final 2 units you have is Law and, Whitebeard, but you can also use Smoker. They're just here for nuking units and just sort of like help you at the back end of a fight. But then you also have these 2 rare recruits, the Pirate Festival rare recruits as well, in Strusen and Smoothie. They're out on JP, they're not out on Global, so I'm not going to talk about them too much, but they can work really, really nicely as well on the main team. Talking about some subs, though. So if you have a look here, like, look at these stats as well. Like, this is after they pop their specials off. It's just wild what this team can do, man. It's mainly used for offense. You don't really see too many defending teams, unless it's just like their like powerful offensive team, which you don't really want to fight anyway, unless you have a way to purely counter it. But this particular team doesn't exactly have like a straight counter, because Yamato is just so cracked. Like you can beat it, but you still would be playing with RNG. And if you see this team like as a defensive team, like, if you see any of these teams as like defensive team, you want to avoid them most of the time, unless you have the direct counters. So like, if you see a Dex team, run Strength. If you see a Quick team, run Dex. Like, that's the best way to, or if you see like a Driven team, run Law and Corazon. Like, that's the best way to sort of attack. But if you are looking for just straight offensive power, these teams work well. Wano Law, he's another really, really good option if you are missing some of these units here. Like, if you're missing something like Sanji, you can easily slide Law in, like, into the main team. drops Scopper onto the bench, and Law's great if you're versing stuff like Quick, because they're full driven and powerhouse-centric. He can he gives level 6 cooldown for Psy characters in terms of the special cooldowns. For the first 40 seconds, he inflicts level 6 special cooldown, guard, speed, defense, speed, debuff down for driven and powerhouse. So if you see a driven powerhouse-centric team, bring Wano Law, because he is just aging like perfect wine over here on Pirate Rumble as well. He does 2200 fixed damage in a large range, and he reduces silence paralysis action one, which is great. You have Verse Shanks. He's another really good tanking unit. Again, very similar to Verse Whitebeard. You slide him in this middle slot here. That's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. Because I don't have Sanji, I don't have Scopper, so I'm using Shanks in this middle slot here, and then Yamato, or you could even use Law, and then I sort of bring Law in when I am versing driven and powerhouse units. But Verse Shanks is great because he gives level 5 HP, level 5 attack. When your HP is below 30%, he gives level 7 defense to himself, so he can just start eating shots. Level 3 defense buff to Psy for 19 seconds on his special. 1000 fixed damage to a large range, and in the last 50 seconds, there's another 2000 fixed damage. So he does a lot of damage in the back end. You can also use him as like a bench option here. If you do have Scopper and you don't have something like Sanji, he works absolutely great too. When you are versing stuff like INT characters, you do have some 2 options here too. You can use stuff like Germa. Germa's really, really good at nerfing ints, and then you can bring something like Wano Law for the driven powerhouse int teams as well. Germa literally just nerfs level 5 defense for ints, but also gives HP and defense up to Psy. Does 2,500 fixed damage, so that's another really, really good option. And if you want to have another look at another option as well, you do have Aokiji as well, or Kuzan. This Kuzan here. This Kuzan's another really good option at nerfing nerfing strength and int characters on his special. Level 5 defense and speed debuff to int and strength characters, as well as giving speed and defense to your Psy characters as well. Bo is another option. She gives level 5 attack up to Psy. Great option if you are attacking. 4,000 fixed damage to one enemy with the lowest HP. And then when HP is below 50%, she gives level 3 defense up to the rest of the team, as long as they're Psy, obviously. But she's very, very good. Applies level 6 attack up, level 11 attack debound, level attack 11 attack down to enemies in a large range as well. If you're looking for some free-to-play options, you do have the Ryoiin Zoro. He's really, really good from Treasure Map. He's a great option for you guys, or you can use something like Rare Recruit Viola. Finally, if you are making some slasher-centric teams with stuff like Scopper, with stuff like Verse Shanks, with Law, with Rebecca Toys. No, they're not. Huh? Are they actually Free Spirit Shooter? No, surely not. Whatever. Roger. Any of these slasher teams, you can actually use something like Kizaru as well. But the Psy team, in my eyes, is sort of the best of the bunch when we are looking at attacking. In my eyes, in terms of attacking, Psy does take the cake. Then we go down to something like the Quick team. It comes second, in my eyes, just because Wano Law, like, you can just destroy them with Wano Law. So if you do see Wano Law, avoid Wano Law at all costs if you are running this team, or you are running the Int team, because it is very centric around Powerhouse and Driven. The most fun for attacking for me is Strength. Strength is really, really good, but if you see Quick, just avoid it at all costs. Even against stuff like Int, like, you can do, like, good, but you got to be worried about stuff like Yamato and Moria. And the reason, in my eyes, these two teams are sort of the best teams on Rumble at the moment, being Int and Psy, is purely because they have Yamato. Yamato is just absolutely cooked. She works so damn well on both the Psy and the Int-based team, but as I mentioned, the Int sort of centric other units sort of rely on defending. So, as I mentioned at the start of the video, please let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about all of these teams. If you guys have any substitutes, if you guys have any other strats, I do know that some of the high-end PvP players like to use class-based teams, implementing stuff like the Quick team with stuff like the Fire Tank Pirates, who are a very, very good Rumble unit. But in today's video, I sort of just wanted to talk about the color meta, as that's sort of what we're moving into this sort of like back end of the year before the sync anyway, with the release of stuff like Kuma, with the release of stuff like Kizaru. So once we hit the sync, who knows what's going to happen. We are moving to class bases on JP, so we'll sort of do a video when that comes around and the sync sort of changes things up a bit. But as I mentioned, guys, let me know what you thought in the comment section below. While you're down there, don't forget to belt that like button for me if you're new to the channel. Hit that big red subscribe button too. But guys, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Let's